All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today for a very special episode of NSR Wrestling in light of recent events. This episode is entitled Weed the People. I'm Peck,
I'm Chris.
and well, let's just get right down to it. As you're all somewhat aware and somewhat surprised, and many of you are more than somewhat disappointed, Jack Swagger is supposed to face Alberto Del Rio at this upcoming WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one slight problem with that. Tuesday or Wednesday night, Mr. Swagger was allegedly pulled over. Well, he was pulled over. And allegedly was intoxicated while driving, had marijuana in his car, and he was speeding. By the way, all of these are considered misdemeanors, which means less than a year in jail for each count. But, even still, in light of recent WWE drug policy and everything else, the question remains, what the hell is going to happen at WrestleMania?
Well, my opinion is this. You know, we all know that they're going to let it slide. And because they won't follow their own drug policies. That's, whatever's convenient for them. So we're going to get the Jack Swagger, Alberto whatever his name is, match. And I'm just amazed with the manager.
Zeb Coulter, absolutely.
God bless it.
Before we get into him,
Sure.
though, I understand storylines. I understand continuity. I understand you only have a month before WrestleMania. But isn't there a point in having a drug policy and enforcing it? Because, I mean, if he can get away with it, but somebody lower on the card would get absolutely slammed for this and not get their chance to wrestle at Mania, I mean, it's just completely hypocritical to me.
It's typical WWE though too. Like Steiner, I remember one time said, "I'll take a test as soon as Triple H takes a test with me," and then didn't have to take the test. So the drug test. So you figure, they play by like whoever they favor and whatever money's involved. I mean, but when you look at it, it seems to be like the biggest drug problem is always in the WWE. Yes, TNA has some, maybe ROH does have some too, but it's always WWE.
But to me, though, here's the thing, okay? What makes me mad, and yeah, I'm a little biased here because obviously you all know through the podcast, Rob Van Dam's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that Jack Swagger, a mid-card level heel at best, not really a main eventer right now, although I must admit his current gimmick, he's the most over that he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so important for him to have his cake and eat it too and get his match when RVD, 2 days after he got pulled over, was stripped of both the ECW World Title and the WWE World Title on consecutive nights and had to drop both belts?
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense to me.
Absolutely. I don't get it. It's favoritism too.
Yeah, it is.
I think too, because WrestleMania is on the line here, a lot of money's going to be made. Maybe that's why they figure it's an investment.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Yes, WrestleMania is on the line, but they've already shown year after year, 2 consecutive years, how unimportant they think the World Heavyweight Championship is.
That is true.
By opening the show with it, and last year, just completely... Yeah, I hate Daniel Bryan, okay? We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But to have an 18-second match, period, at WrestleMania, excluding the fact that it should be one of your main events, excluding the fact that it's for a World Heavyweight title, how do you justify that?
It's disgraceful, really. I mean, even though wrestling's fake,
I mean, I get that this matchup is so much more about building up Del Rio as, a Mexican face and, having a Latino connection and, deep roots in that community and getting fans. But at the same time, it's like, come on here. You can easily slot someone else in that would do bigger business than Jack Swagger, in my opinion.
I know.
I mean, you could put Orton in that match. People are begging for him to turn into a bad guy again.
So Jack Swagger got in this position by winning the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Now, as for how he got there, to my knowledge, I've been casually following it, and his name has not popped up that much over the last year. 3 weeks ago, he shows up with Zeb Coulter, who we'll get to.
Oh, I can't wait.
Starts winning a match with an ankle lock like he had been and referring to it as the Patriot Act. Well, Jack Swagger is now an ultra-conservative, I would say blatant ripoff of the Tea Party. So close of a ripoff, I would say the Tea Party should sue for copyright infringement if, in fact, their flag is trademarked. And he's just been kind of a lightning rod of controversy for them lately. And I really didn't think he would win the Elimination Chamber going into it. I figured, okay, this is nice filler, but he doesn't have a chance.
My question is this, though, too. the Elimination Chamber, do they still do the thing where it's like Raw has the world title thing where like you still have to if you're on Raw you still have to try to win it to still get the Mania and then SmackDown you have to win it to get the Mania or do
No,
they
no, no.
just
Well, generally, here's how it works. Elimination Chamber is set up. Usually, how this works is if the winner of WrestleMania or the winner of the Royal Rumble is from Raw,
yeah,
then Raw will have an Elimination Chamber for the belt,
okay.
and the other Elimination Chamber match will be for the number one contender spot at the World Heavyweight Championship
Okay.
from SmackDown because the guy didn't win the Royal Rumble.
So I don't think I've ever really even watched Elimination Chamber pay-per-view except the ECW one, but it wasn't really
That was bad.
yeah, it was horrendous. So really, they just depending who wins the Rumble, they kind of go by that. And
Really, yeah.
okay,
That's essentially how they do it. Because
I'm-
they don't even do the it's been so obvious lately which belt a superstar is going to challenge for. Like they're really really keeping people on the same shows. I mean, yeah, you'll see them on, Raw every week, but as far as which, title they're going to challenge for, everybody knows.
well, the thing I kind of like when they did the brand splitting, which I thought was horrible back in the day, but that's another whole other story. Like at least they had one unified champion, and the champion would go from Raw to SmackDown.
But see, though, here's the thing with that, though. I'm actually a proponent of the two title system just because if you get an eighth month reign from a wrestler you can't stand, you have no other options. Whereas
Yeah.
you have another world title that's still considered a world title because to me, the World Heavyweight title used to be the NWA title, used to be the WCW title.
Yeah,
It still holds quite a bit of weight to me.
it does.
And you look at the superstars that have held it, recently.
Yeah,
I don't see anything wrong with it.
I just don't know. I don't know. It's like when they brought the U.S. title back too. It's like, now is that still around?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Antonio Cesaro is still champion for that. He's been champ for, oh god, a good 6 months with that.
This could be another topic in itself we could talk about. Are there too many belts? I mean, are there two different tag belts now? Are they, or is
No,
that
no, no, no. There's only one set of tag belts
okay?
now.
Because I know there was like two or three at one
Well, they
point.
don't even have enough tag teams. I don't even think they have a number one contender right now.
And that's another topic too. Where are the tag teams?
Yeah, that's another thing for another day. But getting into Zeb Coulter,
Oh,
yeah, it's been a while. You guys might remember him as Uncle Zebekiah.
thank God.
And he's now a very bearded, very mustachioed, doomsday prepping caricature
I love it.
of conservatives, and he's Jack Swagger's mouthpiece. And my God, that's the one thing Jack Swagger needed because, I mean, let's face it, his mic skills are limited at best. So he needed somebody that can talk, and boy, oh boy, did he find one in Zeb Coulter.
And it's just amazing how like a guy like Dutch Mantel can come back, and he's a basic wrestler. He's nothing too crazy or over the top, but he's just a simple old school wrestler, and he can just do so much with just a little bit of basic skill. It's now if a lot of these guys could get that, or they'd let them show that, it would be amazing how that show could be.
And he's one of the rare people, especially within WWE, that has a manager.
Yeah,
And that's important because
yeah,
I can't tell you the last time I saw somebody effectively build up using a manager.
yeah. Managers are another thing that are almost extinct. I mean, I don't really know too many people that have managers anymore.
And I wonder why. It's one of those things where I guess they want everyone to be able to do everything and be a jack of all trades and be able to be a mouthpiece and whatnot. But they're just, in terms of wrestling, they're a very effective asset for a heel. Alberto Del Rio does have one, though. He's the only
Yeah,
other.
and then Paul Heyman
Notable
came
one.
back, and
Yeah, but Heyman's barely ever at ringside. Paul
Yeah.
fights his own battles.
See, I don't know. I think Paul Heyman just doesn't fit there anymore. I don't know. He's just too. It's just too off.
It's not even that he doesn't fit there. It's just what we want Paul Heyman to be, what we're used to from Paul Heyman. In 2005, it was okay because there was still the shadow of ECW possibly being brought back, and we had the ECW guys there.
But now it's just
Now it's just like, Paul, I understand CM Punk's an over wrestler. I understand everyone on the internet loves him, but Paul, please. You're just moving further and further away from your own legacy, and it's like you're ashamed of ECW. Don't be. You did what no one else could do. You built up a small company. Yeah, you lied to people, but you had people all working together, all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
You got hooked up with a bad network. It's not your fault strictly that it failed.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems to like not want to even like remember it
I
to
mean,
a
I know
degree.
you want to be on the main stage. I know you want to be well known. I know you want to collect a paycheck, and WWE, I admit, it's the best place to do that. But at least acknowledge where you came from.
Amen. I just, it's amazing how like Zeb Coulter can come in here and just be a basic, average type of looking manager and just do a lot.
Well,
You
there's more
know?
to it than that, too. I mean, they changed up Swagger's appearance. They
Yeah,
gave him a controversial name to his finishing move, which I love, the Patriot Act.
perfect.
They gave him a different look. They let the hair grow out. They let the beard grow in, and made him look a little more crazy. And they made you take him a little more seriously because he was a forgettable world champion at best. I mean, he was absolutely terrible.
I honestly didn't even know he was still there. I thought he left like 3 years ago.
He was rumored to be on the chopping block for so long and they never got rid of him. But hey, you know what? I would rather see them convert him and use him in a role than to get rid of him. But I mean, still at the same time, I'm one of those people that follow the rules. I believe people should pay for their mistakes. I understand, I don't have a problem with the marijuana possession. I don't have a problem with the speeding. The biggest problem I have is the DUI.
Yeah,
The marijuana possession didn't put anybody's life at risk. The speeding, that's negligible.
it
But
happens.
driving drunk, I mean, especially if you look at the case of the Dallas Cowboys player that killed his teammate.
Yeah,
Granted, he
whoops.
was going 110 miles an hour, but you look at that and it's like, with how harshly people are being punished for a DUI now, I don't see how you can't take any action against them and show that this is not okay,
Exactly.
and that WrestleMania shouldn't be an excuse.
I know.
That's just my piece on it.
And that's the problem too. Like they're excusing because there's so much more on the line. I guess so much money that's been put into them. Unlike where Rob Van Dam, but so you could kind of argue that too. Like
There was more money put into Rob Van
that's
Dam because
yeah,
you think about all the ticket sales, all the merchandise sales, the pay-per-view revenue from Vengeance. This guy hasn't even had the world title again yet,
yeah.
and Mania hasn't even happened yet, so he hasn't even gotten that payday yet. There's still plenty of time to invest in Randy Orton, who's a much more marketable heel.
Do you think Jack Swagger's the guy to put this gimmick on though?
Well, who else are you going to do it with?
See, I don't know
Because
who's on even on the roster to tell you, but
the only other person I think that you could replace Jack Swagger with and fit it in perfectly would be JBL, but he can't wrestle anymore.
yeah.
Because really, there's no one else. There's no one else that fits that mold. There's no one that can have their gimmick remade that fast and be taken seriously.
Someone, I'm going to pull this up. Sorry for the keyboard typing on the show today, but I wanted to show you actually you, and then we could read it, or I could talk about it. Someone is apparently complaining that this gimmick has been stolen from them, and they are an independent wrestler. Trying to see if I can find it.
What are they called? The racist?
Yeah, I don't know. They're just mad because this whole gimmick was, the phobia of being against foreign people or from foreign descent was stolen from this guy. So I'm going to see if I can find it real quick.
It's
Um,
kind of like a reverse Antonio Cesaro who hates Americans.
yeah, kind of, when you think about it.
By the way, there is a major political figure that's weighing in on this, and we'll get in on that in a little bit.
Very nice, very nice. Let's see here if I can find it.
But really, though, how much credence do we give an indie guy?
Yeah, I mean, really, does he?
They just want their 5 minutes in the sun and hoping to get a $20,000 settlement.
And honestly, I mean, imitation's always the sincerest form of flattery, but I'm sure they didn't watch this guy and actually care.
Well, really, if anything, they're parodying the political landscape and not one indie guy that that doesn't have television exposure.
Hmm. That's the thing. It's like, no one really cares. I never even heard of this guy. I'm trying to find it here. Let's see. Hmm. It's hard to find this because it's just God. There's like so many. See, there's one that says independent wrestler beats woman.
Well, if we can't find it,
Yeah, why not?
let's not worry about it.
Yeah, I mean it might be. I'm gonna try one more page, but
Well, while we're on the subject, that major political figure I mentioned,
hmm
Glenn Beck weighed in on this. And I gotta say, I do agree with some of what he's saying. He kind of blasted the whole industry, and he claimed that this gimmick really isn't a slap in the face to conservative Americans and make them look like uneducated, xenophobic, terrible people. And quite honestly, he does make a decent point. I was a member of the Tea Party at one point, so obviously I'm a little bit biased here. I mean, I agree with some of what they had to say before corporate interests got involved and before politicians that couldn't possibly get elected got into office.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I really don't agree with them using the Don't Tread on Me flag, which became a new symbol of the Tea Party. I really don't agree with them, taking some of the rhetoric and making it to be so extreme because, I mean, let's face it, there are some very impressionable wrestling fans that believe that that's what things are like.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't believe in kayfabe. They think this crap is 100% real.
that's crazy too.
And so, but anyway, out of this, WWE has actually invited Glenn Beck to Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm really interested to see how they do this because the only thing is, I don't really know what Glenn Beck can say to defend himself because you can't go on a wrestling show and point out that it's a storyline. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't do it. That's suicide.
Yeah.
They won't let you do that. They won't let you break kayfabe like that. So I don't know if he's going to get attacked by Swagger. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Is he going to be on the show?
He's good.
He's agreed to it?
WWE extended an invitation to him. I don't know if he's accepted yet or not. I think honestly, it would be much better for them to go on his forum, where wrestling fans are less likely to watch,
Mm-hmm.
and to explain to the American people more so than for him to go to wrestling. But I give him a lot of credit if he does decide to go
Yeah.
and deal with McMahon and deal with his legal team and deal with Swagger and Zeb Coulter and all that, in full gimmick regalia.
Mm-hmm. Um, Here's this person. This guy works for Lucha Libre USA, which no one watches because it's not really on basic cable.
And really, that's a bit of an oxymoron anyway, since as long
Yeah.
as they're Lucha Libre USA, it's always people that get brought in.
Yeah. So this guy's name is R.J. Brewer. Never heard of him. No surprise.
Didn't he used to play for the Knicks?
Yeah, could be. Here's what he said. They say that's the most sincere form of flattery is an imitation. I say imitation is suicide. Because to try to be what someone else really is only killing who you are. Our audience is Latino. Our wrestlers are Latino. And that is why R.J. Brewer is so effective. I don't need a mouthpiece. I don't need a machine behind me. I don't need a human growth hormone or to be protected by a phony drug test only to be thrown out like yesterday's garbage when I am finished. R.J. Brewer will always be 100% real no matter how hard someone tries to diminish that. All I need are my views and my platform to spread them, and so far that has worked just fine. Lucha Libre USA goes on tour this spring. Stay tuned for dates, and stay tuned for a documentary to be filmed about Latin America's favorite enemy. Last year, an average of 3,000 fans came out each night to watch us, and this year should be even better. Thank you. I screwed up on one thing. I said, let me see here. Um, and he said something about being protected on a phony drug test, only to be thrown out like yesterday's garbage when I'm finished. So really, he meant by that, just throwing out the drug test. But honestly, no one ever watched this guy. I don't really think that. I mean, I'm sure WWE looks for ideas and things, but I don't think they all sat down and watched this guy.
Really, the crux of his argument, and he points out to the different things that he's commented on,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that the whole Jack Swagger gimmick is based on speaking out against illegal immigration. I'm sorry, RJ Brewer, but you're not the only person to do that. Matter of fact, I've done it, endless politicians have done it on Democratic side as well as the Republicans. So I mean, it's not like this isn't one of those things where, okay, it's an invention, it's a commodity. Only one person could have possibly came up with this. This isn't Steve Jobs here. This is an idea. This isn't a piece of property. This isn't something that you can market, that you can make money off of. This is a common idea. It's a political concept. You can't claim originality for that. That's like Gene Simmons taking credit for inventing the wheel, which he tries to do.
Exactly. Like this guy just, I don't know. I don't know if he's like an illegal immigration officer. I'm guessing that's what the gimmick is. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's not really against illegal immigration. Just is one topic. I think this whole gimmick is going to be so much more. It's going to be like this right wing conservative type of group, and that's what they're kind of
Well,
teasing
I
at.
will say it seems to me that they've actually pulled back a little bit because JBL, quite frankly, during his feud with the Guerreros and Mysterios, he said some borderline offensive,
Yeah,
racist things.
he would do
But when
that.
you look at Swagger, Coulter's position is all about the illegal immigrants, not necessarily the legal ones. Although he did say that Wade Barrett is part of the problem, and Wade Barrett is a legal immigrant and not a very good wrestler like we thought he was going to be. But that's another topic.
Exactly. So I mean, really, when you look at it to the bare bones of this whole thing, this gimmick really isn't that new, and it's not that groundbreaking, but it's going to be effective because it's just about the times. So I'm sorry, Mr. Brewer, whatever your name is. No one's really been watching you. No one really has anything to really say about you. So
Well, I mean, he makes a valid point, but the thing is, it's such a common idea. It's like you
yeah,
all decide what kind of ice cream you want to go get at the same time. You can't blame your friend for wanting the same thing.
exactly.
So, I mean, really that's where we're at with this whole Jack Swagger thing. But again, the whole DUI thing just really, really gets under my skin. I mean, I've never been personally affected by it. It's never been one of those things. But I just don't see how you can justify this to your fans, and especially with WWE being such a kid-based product. I'm sure parents have heard about Jack Swagger's arrest.
hmm
How do you think they would, react to somebody that has a DUI being allowed to compete in an event like this?
I don't think I'd be too happy.
No, and I don't think they should be. I mean, it's really, really putting the almighty dollar, which, in my opinion, you're not going to make that much of anyway when you have so many other superstars on the roster that would do bigger business.
But that's what they always do. Like, WWE will always be a money-driven company.
But if they're such a money-driven company, why is it Jack Swagger in the main event? That's what I want to know. That's what shocked me. It's like, okay, at least make this title look somewhat important.
I
I mean, I
know.
like the fact that you're, using two wrestlers that have submissions as finishing maneuvers. My God, thank God.
I know. I don't know.
Because I can't imagine The Rock tapping out to the STF. So that won't happen.
Absolutely not. But it's always about the almighty dollar.
I don't know.
In business.
It really doesn't sit right with me. And I've never been one to care that much about Jack Swagger until recently because I kind of like the fact that the new edgy gimmick they're doing. But I don't know. It just doesn't sit right.
Well, they're not really for like kids, and they're not really for all this. They say they are. They've just been put on government regulations and things, and they've been kind of forced into this. And McMahon just goes by the way, the tide is turning to keep this thing afloat. So he's just doing this right now. But I'm sure they'll go back to the rated R wrestling in
I think there's
10
a
years.
I think there's a big difference between things that Vince McMahon has had a hand in and things that Triple H has done. Because
Yeah.
most of the things that Triple H have done are on the side of the road on fire.
hmm
And they're just complete dumpster fire storylines. And it's just like, why are we wasting our time with this?
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's the whole Weed the People segment.
Amazing.
I'm Peck.
I'm Chris.
Good night.